Hello flower friends, I have a burning question. Can you really make a living off of selling flowers in rural Arizona? Let's talk about it. Alright, my season last year was a year of learning. It was a year of experience out here, and I want to kind of mesh all of that together and answer the big question. Can you actually make money out here in the desert selling flowers? But what I want to focus on specifically is my specific area, which is considered a rural area of Arizona. So let's talk about the rural part first. I am fortunate enough to be on the very edge of the county where I live at, to where I am very close to the Tucson outskirts and Tucson metropolitan area. I can travel there without too much of a struggle. However, when I first moved out here to Arizona, I did purchase raw land with the intention actually of growing out there and growing flowers on it as well. I've come to realize that that dream, unfortunately, is just a dream and probably not going to be a reality. And reason being is that property is located in the deep rural part of this county, in which it would take me 2.5 hours to reach anywhere. Fortunately, I just don't think it's a reality that you can make an income from what you sell, unless, I will say a caveat, unless you are selling on either a national level or you are selling on even an international, or you have very good e-commerce going for you. To me, those were the three big things that I can see making a difference. However, I want to scale back from those because I am by no means a massive commercial production. I am a one-woman army doing this, and I intended to sell locally. In the rural parts, it's a struggle, and a lot of that is due to the fact that in this county, if you look at the stats, it's a county of poverty. The largest, I would say, employer out here that actually has decent income is going to be if you work within the local governments or municipalities, or if you're working with the U.S. Border Patrol, or if you are working in the medical systems here, and that's about it. Otherwise, the rest of those jobs, for most part, are going to be geared into food service and also retail service as well. And as a lot of us know, those unfortunately are not great paying jobs, and a lot of those folks are barely making ends meet. So I can completely understand why folks in this area, let's say, can't afford a $20 bouquet, or they can't afford a $40 wreath. It's a lot of money. That is a fraction of probably their grocery money on a weekly basis. So I completely understand why that's not a thing here. There are pockets here within this county that do have their own markets. And while I would say those markets are fairly successful, unfortunately, they just didn't work for me. Either in one case, the days was during the week, which unfortunately just doesn't align for me. I already work a full-time job, and it was during the day, so definitely cut me out of that market. And then the other markets that I have explored in the area, I didn't get the greatest feelings about the market managers. They just felt a little disheveled, a little disorganized, and I prefer to have a little bit of professionalism going on. And so that also kind of swayed me out from that market as well. And then the ones I did actually try in the county were very craft bazaar type of markets, which when you're selling fresh flowers is just not a great mix. There were a lot of old people who I think were very interested in what they had to sell there, but for most part, guys, it was stuff that I'm personally not interested in, like printed tumblers and plush animals and what have you. Unfortunately, not a great place for somebody to sell flowers. But with that, though, I got the experience. So what's the deal out here? I mean, do cowboys just not like flowers? And guys, I'm joking when I say that. But the real thing about this area is that, yes, there are farmers out here and local producers, local growers that are actually making it, and they are doing it full time. I'm only at a hobby level at this point, which is barely anything. I do my market when I feel like it, and I take my time with it, but there are people really hustling out here that have been doing it probably for quite a few years now, and those folks, they live deeper in the county than even I do. So what they have to do is they are doing markets in Tucson. Some of them do also participate in the county markets as well, in those little mid-sized cities, but for most part you have to go to the large cities in order to make it worth your while if you want to do it full time. Those folks are traveling upwards to 1.5 to 2 hours multiple times a week just to get to those markets to sell in order to sustain their dream of farming. Kudos to them. That's really impressive, but it's really unfortunate because I imagine they really would love to have those kind of sales in our own county, but unfortunately, again, the folks here, the economy just doesn't support it enough in order to have folks have that expendable income to be able to support local growers and producers. So let's talk about why you have to go to the cities. So the first one is that obviously you're going to have a little bit better income ratio out there. You're going to have a lot more wealthy population when you get into a lot of those cities and metropolitan areas. And so what that means is that those folks do have that income to help support local. They don't look at flowers and things as necessarily a luxury, but as a means of supporting a local farmer and a local grower, and also giving back into their own community. They're keeping that money local. They're not going to Walmart. They're not going to Target or to Safeway or the other big box chains out there and buying those flowers that were imported in from Colombia and Holland and everywhere else in the world that they come from. They are taking their money and saying, I'm supporting local and I'm keeping this money in my community. So that, again, that ties into they just support local here. It is part of their values is that they can and they have the means to do that and support local, and they're going to. I see the same folks every time I do a market. I see the same shoppers that come in with their multiple bags, scurrying around the market, going to the vendors and trying to get whatever they need before it sells out. Those folks are the folks that are really the customers that you really want to help support you. And those are the ones that exist in those metropolitan areas. The other thing that I really love about the market that I sell at in Tucson, and the reason I did pick this one, not only because it's closer to me and my location, but the other fact of it is that just a couple miles up the road is Saguaro National Park. And so not only am I getting the local traffic of folks who are consistently coming back on a weekly basis to support us, I also get tourists that stop by as well. So folks who are on their way to explore the national park and they see a really cool market and they stop and they kind of peruse around. So I don't want to say it's impossible to sell in a rural market. I would say that if you are doing it full time, you just have to expand your horizon out. The unfortunate part is that while we do have some smaller mid-cities here in my county, we have the tourist of Tombstone, we have the cool mining town of Bisbee, we have the military town of Sierra Vista. Unfortunately, if you are a full-timer, you're going to find that those markets just probably are not going to be enough to be able to sustain you on a weekly basis and cover your expenses and everything else. So that's where those folks, including myself, have to pack it up and take it to folks who actually do and can help support us local farmers, growers, and producers. So I guess the answer to the big question is, can you truly make a living selling in rural Arizona, or selling flowers in my case? And the answer is unfortunately no. Guys, I'll be honest with you. I really did come out here, before we moved out here, I was running all of the demographics, I was running stats, I was looking at any type of income ratios, any type of medians, averages. I was trying to see the areas where, you know, there were populations that did have high levels of income. And to me, this area looked promising, and I was really hopeful when I first came here that I could make it happen in this county, and that I could, you know, sustain myself on just sales within this county. But the reality of it is that it's just so much harder and so much tougher to do it here, and I can't really blame people here. It's just the fact that they just don't have the economy here that supports them with really decent paying jobs in order for them to be able to go out and support local, like our neighboring city in Tucson. So with that, my flower friends, I really hope I have not dissuaded anybody. I just wanted to share this as my experience this past season, and just also put it out there for maybe some folks who might be in a similar boat geographically. You know, sometimes things on paper don't always end up working out, and it's definitely been a very big learning experience out here. But with that, I want to say thank you so much for watching, my friends. Take care. I'll see you next time.